One of the major problems of opening a conversation is that many people can't get beyond, how are you? How's the wife? How's business? Beautiful weather we're having, isn't it? So let me ask you now, do you feel at a loss about what to say or how to act when you meet a stranger? Do you want to hold the upper hand in the conversation so you can get your own way, but you don't really know how or where to begin? Perhaps you need to gain power over others so you can control a person's attitudes and actions the first time you meet, but you don't know how.
Now, you will know how to do that, and much more, with Conversation Power, Communication Skills for Business and Personal Success by Dr. James Van Fleet. In today's world, just being good at your job isn't enough. You need to communicate ideas, interact with people in different business situations, speak in public perhaps, and persuade your superiors. As a matter of fact, most of your day is spent in oral communication. It makes sense, therefore, to hone your conversational skills and use them to your best advantage. James Van Fleet has spent a lifetime mastering the language of success. He's enjoyed a distinguished career in a wide field of experience, from the United States Army and chiropractic medicine to management consulting and motivational speaking. A prolific author, he's considered an expert on applied psychology, which forms the basis of his 13 published books. Now, you'll be able to learn his proven, practical principles of people power and self-expression in this information-packed program.
If you want to become highly successful in business or industry, you must know how to control and direct people's actions by your orders and commands. Since you can't use force to control people, you must learn how to use techniques that will command both respect and obedience.
And the techniques you'll learn aren't just limited to the business world. You'll be able to extend the communication expertise you enjoy professionally to your home and personal life as well. Exact phrases, simple guidelines, practical tips and examples will show you how to relate to your family and friends. Whether you need to gain information, placate your spouse, or just get better service, one thing is certain. You'll never be at a loss for the right words again. And now, Nightingale Conant is pleased to present Conversation Power, Communication Skills for Business and Personal Success.
Many years ago, the American philosopher George Herbert Palmer observed that he who can explain himself can command what he wants. He who cannot is left in poverty. After more than 30 years as a consultant in business management and human relations, I've found that Palmer's comment has stood the test of time. Conversation, the act of explaining yourself, is your principal mode of communication with other people. No other skill is anywhere near as important to a successful business career, a rewarding social life, or a happy home. For it is by what you say, and to a lesser extent how you say it, that you impress others either as a strong, assertive personality or else a weak one. A person's success depends as much on the ability to talk as it does on the professional and technical know-how to do the job. All other things being equal, advancement and promotion will invariably go to the person who has mastered the art of self-expression, both in speaking and writing, while his colleague, who attaches little or no importance to what can be achieved with the use of language, will be marked for mediocrity or failure. The famous British statesman of the 19th century, Disraeli, summed up this idea concisely when he said, "Men govern with words." Perhaps you want to change your spouse's mind about what kind of car to buy, or restore cheerful good humor to a sullen, moody teenager. You may need to overcome your employer's objections to a business proposal you've submitted. Perhaps motivate an employee to try harder or discipline one who stepped out of line. Maybe you just need a few ways to break the ice with strangers at a social affair. Whatever the situation, whoever the other person, this program will help you accomplish your purpose. In many cases, it will even suggest the exact words and phrases you can use. But there's more to conversation than just talk. There's also body language, the gestures, movements, and facial expressions that sometimes speak louder than words. You learn to watch for these signs in other people, to know if they're saying what they really mean. And also use body language yourself to magnify the impact of your words. Now, if you'll analyze your day, you'll find that no less than 75 to 80% of it is spent in oral communication with someone, explaining, persuading, advising, ordering, influencing, asking, and answering questions. The more capable you become in expressing yourself clearly and precisely to others, the more successful you will become in mastering people and controlling their actions. A famous psychologist made a detailed study of hundreds of successful men and women to determine the main reasons for their success. She found that they had one specific thing in common: their skill in using words. She also discovered that their earning power was closely linked to their verbal skills. You, too, can expect your earning power to increase when you improve your own language skills. When you learn how to govern and control people with words, you'll be at home in any social environment. You can walk into any group and be as much at ease as if you were with your own family. When you master the art of self-expression, you can become a recognized leader in social, business, political, and community affairs. In addition, you'll gain 6 more valuable benefits. First, you'll develop a winning, positive, powerful, and outgoing personality. Second, you'll have greater self-confidence, emotional security, and peace of mind. Third, you'll gain the ability to think clearly and to express yourself precisely. Fourth, people will listen to you and get the job done right the first time. Fifth, promotion and advancement will come your way as a matter of course. And sixth, you'll develop the power to influence and control others so they'll do what you want them to do. In this program, you'll learn conversational skills that you can use in many different situations: business, employee and colleague relations, how to be a better salesperson, improving your home life, how to build enduring friendships, and how to be an effective speaker. Before I go any further, let me explain that I often use the pronoun he for the sake of convenience, but please understand that everything I'm talking about applies equally to both men and women. One of the first problems you must solve if you want to become a skilled conversationalist is selecting the proper subject to talk about. You can't hold a person's attention for very long if you discuss something in which he or she has no interest whatsoever. Most conversations start with, "Hello, how are you today?" The expected answer is, "Fine." The person asking the question isn't at all interested in hearing the minute details of how the other person really is. The next point to come up is usually a comment about the weather. "It's a beautiful day, warmer than usual, cooler than normal. I think it's going to rain." After that, there's no place to go, and the conversation founders and dies in absolute silence. If you want to avoid situations like these and become an excellent conversationalist, then you must give your listener an interesting verbal handle to grab onto. How can you do that? By finding out exactly what the other person wants or what he likes to talk about. My friend George Rogers has a quick example of exactly what I mean by that.
I've found that the quickest way to grab a person's attention and hold it is to pay him or her a compliment. Every person you meet wants to feel important in some way. When you pay a person a compliment, you feed his ego. You make him feel important and he likes you immediately. He admires your good judgment. For instance, I have a new leather sports jacket that I like very much. The other day I wore it when my wife and I went out for dinner. The waitress said to me, "Gee, that sure is a terrific-looking jacket, sir. That's the most beautiful leather jacket I've ever seen." Well, that young lady made my day. Not only did she compliment me on my jacket, but in doing so she praised my good judgment in making such a wise selection. She fed my ego. She made me feel important by just a few words. And she also benefited from that compliment. Her tip was much larger than usual.
There are 3 major points to remember from this one example. First, although the friendly handshake, the big smile, and the cheerful greeting are all highly important in making friends, they won't get you anywhere at all unless you know exactly what the other person wants. Second, you'll never gain your objectives unless you stop thinking of what it is that you want from that person and concentrate entirely on what you can do for him. To be able to do that, you must get inside a person's mind so you can find out what he really wants. That's the third point you need to know. What actually makes that person tick? You must discover those secret motivators of his that really turn him on. Only then will you be able to understand why he says what he says, and why he does what he does. And only then will you be able to guide and control the conversation for your own benefit. Now, you needn't be a psychiatrist or a psychologist or have any sort of advanced degree to be able to understand human nature. You can discover the innermost secret needs and desires of others by just using a few simple methods. The techniques you'll learn in this program are easy to understand, simple to use, and most important of all, you'll find that they really will work for you. I can assure you of that, for I've spent my entire life studying applied psychology. Give me just a few minutes to listen to another person talk, and I can tell you what he wants out of life even better than he can. With a bit of practice and experience, you can soon do the same. There are 14 secret motivators that cause people to do and say the things they do. When you discover their innermost needs and desires, when you make every effort to help them get what they want, most of all, you'll gain power over them, power that'll work like magic for you. People will always do what you ask them to do. It will be extremely easy for you to understand human behavior when you realize that people do and say the things they do because they have certain deep needs and desires that must be fulfilled. Everything a person says and does is aimed at achieving those basic needs and desires. Some of these motivators are purely physical. Others are acquired through the learning process as one goes through life. Now, the satisfaction of a physical need can become a specific goal that causes a person to behave in a certain way. Those basic needs are the ones that have to do with a person's physical existence and survival. Food, drink, sleep, clothing, shelter, and normal body functions. In an average social situation, you'll seldom have the opportunity to exploit a person's physical need to your own advantage unless that basic need of his has become an obsessive want because of greed. Let me explain that a bit more. We're all motivated by greed at some time or another. Greed will make a person want a larger house than he or she needs, a more expensive car than he requires, better clothes, finer food, and so on. When a person's need becomes a want, it's also because he or she is driven by a deep, learned desire, ego gratification, a need for a feeling of importance and pride, plus a desire for more money and all the things that money will buy. Don't misunderstand me now. I'm not putting down money or the good material things in life. After all, I'm susceptible too. Give me the choice between a Chevrolet and a Cadillac, and I'll take the Cadillac every time. I'm just saying that when those basic fundamental needs become a burning, driving, overpowering obsession to get more of them than one can ever use, it's usually because of greed. And you can always use a person's greed to your own advantage. You can use it to influence and control the conversation, and ultimately to influence and control the person's actions and behavior. Desires or learned needs are acquired by a person throughout his life as he discovers the values held by other people and the importance of certain social attitudes and ideas. Psychological needs such as the desire for power, approval, recognition, ego gratification, liberty, and freedom can be even stronger than the basic physical ones. People will do whatever is necessary to achieve them, be those methods legal or illegal, moral or immoral. Every normal person has 14 basic desires or learned needs. They are: 1. A sense of personal power, mastery over others. 2. Ego gratification, a feeling of pride and importance. 3. Financial success, money, and all the things it'll buy. 4. Recognition of efforts, reassurance of worth. 5. Social or group approval, acceptance by one's peers. 6. The desire to win, the need to be first, to excel, to be the best. 7. A sense of roots, of belonging somewhere, either to a place or a group. 8. The opportunity for creative expression. 9. The accomplishment or achievement of something worthwhile. 10. New experiences. 11. Liberty and freedom, privacy from intrusion. 12. A sense of self-esteem, dignity and self-respect. 13. Love, in all its forms. 14. Emotional security. Except for the first two, the desire for power and the need for a feeling of importance, which psychologists feel are the two greatest motivators of all, I haven't listed the other 12 basic desires or learned needs in any particular order of importance. But the point is that a person will not be completely happy and content if any one of them is not being satisfactorily fulfilled. Everything an individual does is directed toward their attainment. Every waking moment, every thought, word, and act is aimed at achieving these goals. Now, it'll be up to you to find out which one or more of these desires is dominant in your subject. You'll need to discover which ones you can use to influence and control his actions. Find out what he wants above all else in life. Do that, and you'll be in complete command of both him and the situation. Although a person needs fulfillment of all 14 of these basic desires, you'll soon discover that he or she has the greatest need and desire for whatever they're lacking at the moment. By the same token, an abundance of any of these basic needs or desires will prevent you from gaining control of the situation or the person at that particular time. These 2 points might seem quite apparent to you, and you might wonder why I mention them. But I've often seen people try to gain power with an individual or take control of a situation by trying to fulfill a desire that's already been satisfied. Remember that a person's needs and desires are never static. They change constantly. What he wanted most of all a month or even a week ago may not be important today. That's why you'll want to keep up to date and completely informed about a person's current needs and desires. To do that, you must listen for clues in his conversation. If he's reluctant to talk, you must draw him out so you can get those clues. Use the following 5 guidelines to get a person to talk about himself and discover his deepest desires. First, be genuinely interested in people, in each person and his individual problems. Second, be a good listener. Watch for what he does not say as well as for what he does. Infinite patience is absolutely necessary to become a good listener. Third, encourage the person to talk about himself. Ask him leading questions to help him get started. Fourth, always talk in terms of his interests so you can find out what he wants. Never tell a person what you want. He doesn't give a hoot about that. Fifth, make the other person feel important. Feed his ego and do it sincerely. To get specific answers to your questions, it's always best to use the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, why. You can also use how to get additional information. No matter who the person is, how important he is, how much money he has, or how successful he is, to him the most important subject in all the world is himself. He loves to tell you how he started from nothing and became something, how much money he's made, how important a figure he is in the community, and on and on. As you can see from this, there are a lot more profitable subjects to talk about than one's health or the weather. Just remember that you can't control a situation by guessing what the other person wants. You must know exactly what he or she wants so you can help them get it. Only then will you have the power to control both them and the situation to your own advantage. The only way to gain that information is through conversation, specifically by asking questions. Now, my own life insurance agent, Ted, was making an average living by using the old-fashioned standard approach of plugging financial security for the family if the man of the house died. His secretary, Pamela, attended several of my lectures on speech improvement and word usage. She suggested to Ted that he might profit by changing his sales approach. He could offer the prospect the opportunity to control and dominate his family even after his death with the proper insurance program. Ted called me the other day to tell me how much his business had improved with these new tactics. When I offered a man only security for his family, I was offering him a benefit that he could never use himself, Ted said. In fact, I was making him think only of his own death with that kind of sales pitch, and he just couldn't accept that idea. But by offering him the chance to control and dominate, guide and direct his family's activities even after he was gone, he saw that he was in a sense still alive. He was not completely wiped out of the picture. My life insurance sales have quadrupled with this new approach of yours. This point of people wanting to dominate others is a good one for you to keep in mind. Even though few individuals will admit the fact openly, it's a deep hidden desire of almost everyone. Why is this so? Because if you can dominate another person and control his actions, that makes you more important than he is. And being important is one of the 14 basic desires we all have. As a prominent psychologist once told me, people don't want to just get along with other people. They want to have power over them. So if you're at a loss as to how to find what a person's deep needs are, you can always begin by feeding his ego. Make him feel important. And as he talks about himself, you'll quickly learn what his other needs and desires are. He can't help but reveal them to you as he talks about himself, his dreams, his hopes, and his desires. If you're at all doubtful about this, I suggest you try it as an experiment. Use this procedure of making people feel important for a week. See for yourself. You'll be amazed at the fantastic results you'll get. And now I'd like to give you some practical tips on how to open and close a conversation beyond the dead hello, with strangers, with the opposite sex, on the telephone, and in business. You'll learn how to use topic teasers to stimulate immediate interest in your listener. You can also use these tips to open and close a talk or a speech. The point is, the first impression people have of you will probably be a lasting one. So you want to make your opening the best that you possibly can. By the same token, how you end your conversation or talk will also become an indelible part of your listener's memory. So you want that final impression to be the best possible one, too. Even if you drop the ball in the main body of your talk or your conversation, excellent first and last impressions can help you overcome any weaknesses in the middle. Before I discuss the techniques, I want to give you one never, which I've touched on earlier. Never open a conversation by just saying hello. It's a deadly opening, for it's not interesting, so the conversation goes absolutely nowhere. The magic key to a successful opening is to get the other person's interest immediately if you want your conversation or your talk to be successful and beneficial to you. Here are some examples of how to use this technique.
I've always been interested in computers, but I really don't understand how they work. I know you're an expert in the field. Could you tell me more about them?
This opening can be used for any kind of work.
I've often wished I knew more about the stock market and how it works. Would you tell me more about your job and the kind of work you do as a stockbroker?
This opening can be used for any occupation or profession.
I've never seen such great shoes before. Can you tell me what kind of leather they're made of and where you got them?
Your name absolutely fascinates me. Can't you tell me something about its origin and meaning?
You really have a gorgeous tan. I'd love to look like that, but I always turn as red as a boiled lobster. What's your secret?
Although you can use other conversation starters, I've found that using a leading question to get the person to talk about himself is the most reliable way to get him to open up and talk with you. Concentrate your attention on what he's most interested in, not on what you're interested in. Some men find it extremely difficult to talk with a woman. They're overly worried about saying the wrong thing or having it misinterpreted as either a chauvinistic remark or a pass. Married men are often uncomfortable talking to a single woman, especially if their wives are present. This will present no problem at all if you stay on safe ground by selecting an appropriate and suitable subject. Surveys of over 1,000 women about their favorite subjects for discussion revealed that the following 9 subjects were at the top. Family and home, including children and grandchildren. Good health. Work or job. Promotion and advancement. Personal growth. Clothes and shopping. Recreation. Travel. Men. Especially single women. Subjects that were least liked by women were sports such as baseball, football, and boxing, politics, and religion. However, some women are quite comfortable discussing sports. Surprisingly, the topics most men like to talk about are strikingly similar to those women like, according to surveys of 1,000 men. They like to talk about the following 8 subjects. Family and home, including children and grandchildren. Good health, work or job, promotion and advancement, personal growth, recreation, travel, women, especially young single men. Subjects also preferred by men were sports and politics. They disliked discussions of religion, nor did they care to discuss clothes, fashions, or shopping. Use topic teasers to open conversations. You can arouse interest with them and head off meaningless and boring conversations. Look through your newspaper or a current news magazine. I know you can find some more interesting topics to discuss than the weather, politics, religion, or the state of your health. To best project your individuality and to make sure that you're on safe ground, choose a topic in which you're well-versed so you won't get caught short. Avoid controversial subjects that can create enemies for you. To answer your telephone with just a dull and lifeless hello is a poor start for any conversation. I know one imaginative businessman of Scottish ancestry who answers his phone with a top of the morning to you. This is McCampbell speaking, and how can I be of service to you? It's always a pleasure to call him just to hear his happy greeting. No matter how down you might be, he always makes you feel better. Now, you can let a person calling you feel how glad you are to hear him, too, by the happy sound of your voice. It's so easy to say, Rick, it's good to hear from you. I'm so happy you called. What can I do for you? Equally important is the tactful way to close a long-winded telephone call that's eating away at your working day. You can pleasantly say, George, I'm sorry to rush away, but I have no choice. I simply have to go. My secretary's standing in the doorway right now, giving me a dirty look. Let's pick this matter up again as soon as we can. Or, If I didn't have to meet my boss in 5 minutes, Mary, I'd love to discuss the subject in more detail with you. How about getting together someday at lunch where we can talk it over without any interruptions? If you want to be successful as a public speaker, then tuck away in your memory some anecdotes, jokes, stories, and quotations that you can use to open your talk and to liven it up as you go along. Even the most serious speech can be helped with a line of humor here and there. It will help you relax your audience and make them even more receptive to what you're saying. I well remember attending a business seminar in Miami where the main speaker was having a tough time getting to his point. He sensed that his audience was growing restless, but he saved the day by his quick wit when he said, "Please be patient. When I get through talking here, I'm going to say something." In business conversations or talks, you can use a variety of methods to persuade people to listen and pay attention to you. The best is the leading question that promises your listener a benefit. Here are some brief examples of this potent technique. How would you like to make some easy money? Would you like to increase profits 25%? How would you like to cut production costs in half? Want to double the number of your customers? How'd you like to reduce your utility bills 20%? Do you want a car that offers the best mileage on the road? You see, when your listener says yes to your opening question, it establishes a friendly, positive mood. This makes it much easier for him to continue to agree with you. Now, you might be saying to yourself, how will I know when to stop talking? One of the best ways to keep from talking too much is not to muddle and confuse your listener with information that he doesn't need. Don't drown him in details. Unnecessary trivia can cause confusion, loss of attention, and misunderstanding. Remember that attention is always lost when understanding is gone. So to keep the full attention and interest of your listener and to gain his complete understanding, don't talk too much. Make your sentences short. Don't use unnecessary words. Stay on course. Stick to your point. To sum up this idea, let me put it this way. Don't wait too long to finish. Be sure that you stop talking before your audience stops listening. Always leave them wanting more. Then you know they'll always come back. The spoken word is truly an amazing tool for controlling people's emotions and reactions. If you learn to use words well, you'll gain the upper hand over anyone. On the next few sides, you'll learn talk techniques and tips that'll help you acquire the conversational finesse to make you a success in any situation.